Welcome to Calculated Friction. I'm Silas. This is English practice for the curious. We skip the simple stories and dive straight into the strange, the complex, and the unfiltered. The mechanics of romance. In this episode, we will look at 3 different ways to understand love. One single view is never enough for a subject that changes our lives so much. I call these 3 views biological storm, psychological awakening, and the trench alliance. Now, complicated things, you'll see what these words mean. Don't worry about it. They do not contradict each other, by the way. In fact, you can experience all 3 of them at the same time with the same person. Depending on your past relationships, however, they might not all apply to you. Because of this, you should focus on your own experiences when listening to this episode. If you are in love right now, and I bet that you are, I want you to think about the person you love. Listen to this episode and think about them, your experiences together, and the promises you made. I invite you to look at your own love story through these 3 views. To help us understand these ideas, we will follow a real romance from history, the story of Marie and Pierre Curie. We will use their lives as an example, but for you, I want you to think about your own reality. Let's start with a mystery. Marie was a practical student. She was poor, and she planned to leave Paris soon. Pierre was a successful scientist. He avoided women because he thought they were a danger to his work. Logically, they should not have been together. They both tried to avoid love. But Pierre changed his mind first. When he asked her to marry him, she said no to follow her practical plan. Then, this famous French scientist offered to throw away his whole career. He offered to move to Poland and teach basic French just to be near her. Why? It made absolutely no logical sense. The philosopher Arthur Schopenhauer would say they were caught in the biological storm. Of course, he wouldn't say that. That's me. That's my word. But it's the same thing. He believed that love is just a natural urge to have children. He said this powerful force is stronger than your logical mind. It pulls you in and destroys your self-control. Often you do not even see it happening. Sometimes you do, but you make excuses. You make up reasons for love because you want things to make sense. But the reality is that this unstoppable force pulled Marie back to Paris. There was no logic strong enough to stop it. Schopenhauer believed love is only about keeping the human species alive. It's not personal at all. Now think about your own life. Do you remember feeling pulled like this? Did you feel like you had no choice and love took control? Schopenhauer said love is a basic need like hunger or breathing. It exists outside of your logic. Its only purpose is reproduction. Imagine our species as this large animal that covers the entire planet. It wants to stay alive, and it does this by forcing individual people to reproduce. So you and I are sort of like cells. And humanity, the entirety of humanity, that's the animal. According to him, after you have babies or after some time passes, you finally see the person for who they really are. Reality hits you. Have you ever asked yourself, what was I thinking? When you look back, you realize you had nothing in common. You had different personalities, beliefs, and backgrounds. The person might even have a negative impact on your mental health. You might ask, why are we still together? Some people say when you are caught in a violent storm, You cannot change direction. You just accept it and try to survive. Because of this, people choose to have fewer children today. Logically, having babies costs a lot of energy and a lot of money. So, human beings created birth control. You cannot control the biological urge, but you can stop it from resulting in a baby. Love then becomes a drug. You fall in love, the feeling fades, and you look for the next relationship. If this is true, it means our love lives are just an illusion. We are just animals lying to ourselves. But maybe we need this blind force. If we were purely logical, we might never take the big risk of trusting someone. The storm forces two independent, stubborn people to connect. However, if we only look at love this way, it means love is temporary and can never last a lifetime. If Schopenhauer was completely correct, Marie and Pierre should have woken up in their freezing, miserable apartment and just walked away. But they didn't. Schopenhauer only watched this storm from the outside. He never had a long love story himself. So, let's look at the second idea, the psychological awakening. The psychologist Carl Jung agreed that love is a storm and a powerful hidden force. But he thinks the final destination is different. Having children is only a small detail. The real purpose of the storm is something called individuation. It's the process of becoming your true self while also growing as a person. Imagine your mind as a seed. It has huge potential, but it needs the right environment to grow. As a seed, you have DNA, so you cannot become just any tree. But how tall you will grow depends on your environment, where the sunlight and water are. You grow toward these things. Jung believed a giant force pulls you through life towards experiences that make you grow. A lot of this growth comes from being in love. Without realizing it, you are attracted to the person who has the exact qualities you need in order to grow. Usually, the person you love is very different from you. They have amazing traits, but also traits that frustrate you. Remember that "what was I thinking" moment? Schopenhauer saw it as a tragedy. Jung sees it differently. If both of you want to grow, the frustration is not a mistake. It is an invitation. The difficulties act like a mirror, showing you what you need in order to improve. Two pieces of the same puzzle. Look at Marie and Pierre again. Pierre was a brilliant dreamer. He was disorganized and he did not care about money. Marie was disciplined, practical, and ambitious. They forced each other to grow. Marie gave Pierre direction in the real world. Pierre gave Marie emotional stability in a sexist academic environment. The best proof of this was in the lab. Pierre left his own successful work to join Marie's complex research on radioactivity. They became a united team. Think about your own life. Have you ever realized that you changed because of a partner and you actually improved? The person you love brings out your flaws. You cannot ignore their criticism. In a healthy relationship, both people talk, listen, and evolve. When you are in love, your mind needs this person because they help you develop. But if you refuse to grow, the relationship can turn toxic. The other person becomes an annoyance. Instead of focusing on how they can transform you, you just complain. If you do not learn the lesson, you will fall out of love and look for a new partner with the same old traits. The cycle will repeat until you finally grow. And then, finally, we must return to concrete reality. Both the biological storm and the psychological awakening assume you have a stable, safe life. But life is full of real problems. We need someone who will be there when we get sick or experience deep sadness. This brings us to the Trench Alliance. A trench is a hole dug in the ground where soldiers hide together during a war. You dig a trench to stay safe when tragedy comes your way. This type of love is not psychological awakening or a temporary storm. It is built on hard reality. Life has heavy burdens like illness and grief. Trench love helps you survive the hard facts of life. It brings stability and peace. It is the love you need if you want to build a family. This love develops slowly. It comes from hard work, loyalty, and shared suffering. It can be summarized in one single sentence. It's you and me against the world. Let's look at the Currys' reality. They were extremely poor. For 4 years, they worked in a freezing, abandoned shed to discover radium. Marie stirred boiling toxic dirt for hours while Pierre managed the delicate instruments. They were exhausted, poor, and sick from radiation. This was not just a psychological awakening. It was survival. They relied completely on loyalty to each other. Often, relationships start as adventures, but then a severe illness or tragedy happens. What will your partner do if you have an accident and cannot leave your bed for months? What will they do if life knocks you down? Will they catch you? Will they help you get back up? Sometimes you discover they will not. Hard times show people's true colors. But often they will rise to the challenge and stay by your side. This love is simply about finding someone who understands loyalty. When Pierre was tragically killed in the streets of Paris, Marie did not collapse. She took over his teaching job, she carried his memory and their shared mission through her grief until the day she died. That, my friends, is loyalty. So, what is love good for anyway? Is it the biological storm that forces us out of our lonely routines? Is it the psychological mirror that pushes us to grow? And when all of this storm passes, is it the trench that keeps us safe when the world falls apart? One last time, I want you to think about the person you love. Are you caught in the storm? Are you experiencing the friction of an awakening? Or are you standing beside a partner in the trenches of life? If you're lucky, you might experience all three of them. Well, now, that was a lot to process. We're just trying to get those dishes done while getting ready for a class, and this guy is making us question our entire love life. Well, for your next class, I want you to think about stories. They don't even have to be your own, just love stories. Thank you for listening, and take care.